Hello everyone, welcome to ShailajaIAS and welcome to the PYQ Decoder class. This is Subhash. So today in class 3 we will be seeing the next theme of Indian polity based on last 5 to 6 years of UPSC PYQs. These important units or the themes are the fundamental rights, the fundamental duties, directive principles of state policies and citizen. So part 2, 3, 4, 4A income of the Constitution of India comprises the themes which are discussed in this class. We'll see one by one. This question was asked in 2025. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Match the provisions. Separation of judiciary, DPSP, which article? Article 50, this is right. Rich heritage, okay, to protect our rich heritage, fundamental duties, correct. Prohibition of children in factories, fundamental right, right against exploitation. So you should be able to answer this very easy and straightforward. Matching provision, answer is all three pairs. What you have to deduce from this is separation of judiciary is asked, and Article 44 you should know, which is in use, Uniform Civil Code. Promotion of international peace you should know which article or where it comes from, because these are all the things that is in use now. So from the statements and options given, what all other things you can correlate and able to understand that these questions, these themes might come, you should be able to put it. Then rich heritage, fundamental duties, was it a part of original constitution or not? If it is, then what? If it is not, which amendment brought? Which are the committee and what recommendations gave rise to fundamental duties? How many amendments happened? How many fundamental duties are there? All the basic concepts have been asked in 2025, that is the last year. Understood? Clear? How to deduce from the statements that has been given and what all themes to link and study for the 2026 examination. Right to privacy has been asked. So Puttaswamy case, right? Puttaswamy versus Union of India, right to privacy was declared as a fundamental right under Article 21. DPDP Act has come, digital protection data, that is under Article 19. You should know Article 16. Questions will come from Article 16. Questions will come from Article 21, which is this one now, right to privacy. Right to die, okay? Right to die with dignity. Recently was in news. Right to die with dignity is a fundamental right under which article? That is also under Article 21. Article 21 is an umbrella fundamental rights below which many of the rights are taken shelter, right? You know that. Article 15, right against discrimination. Article 19 you should know. Article 16 you should know, because these are the options from where questions have been already framed by UPSC. And they have taken these options, and one of the options question has been asked in 2024. Same question was asked in 2021, and the next question might come from Article 19 or right to die with dignity, again Article 21 itself with different theme. Article 16 question has come, Article 15 question might come, untouchability question has come, Article 17, Article 18, titles question has come. So you should be able to deduce from where questions are coming and which themes, which area, how UPSC is asking. Here, straightforward, if you know you can answer, if you don't know, then you have to move ahead without answering and getting negative. Due process of law, this is philosophy of the fundamental right and the law, 2023 question. due process of law. In essence, what does due process of law mean? Due process of law. In essence, what does the due process of law means? Your options are principle of natural justice, procedure established by law, equality before law, fair application of law. Due process of law is a concept in US, United States of America. That law should not only be right, the application of the law also should be fair, just, and reasonable. Under Article 14 of Indian Constitution, we have equality before the law, which is a concept from UK, A.V. Dicey's concept, right? You have read it. This is not a typical polity class to understand all the concept. You should have known it already. One more provision of Article 14 is equal protection of law. Equal protection speaks about equity. This speaks about equality. This speaks about equity. I think in ethics, one quote I remember, for example, if you are giving shoes in a class to all the students, equality is to ensure that all students get a pair of shoes, but equity ensures that they get the right size for their for the shoes to fit their leg, fit their pair, fit their sole. So equity is to ensure they get in proportionately the benefit for to uplift all the citizens to the same level. Equality is to ensure there is no discrimination in the law. Due process of law is to ensure fairness, is to ensure justice, is to ensure reasonable, to act based on the principles of natural justice, which encompasses all this: to be fair, to be just, to be reasonable. Answer is principle of natural justice, which is the theme of fundamental rights, which is the building blocks. A.V. Dicey's equality, okay, due process of law of America, equal protection of law. These concepts are all important. Procedure established by law, where we are taken from Japan. So all these concepts should be catered to and clear before reading fundamental rights blindly. These concepts should be very clear for the prelims, and the questions are coming like this, the applied part. It was asked in 2023. We'll go for the next question. The amending powers. Amendment versus judicial interpretation has been always in news, and the conflict will be always there. Any amendment, it's put to the judicial test, right? For example, AWS amendment was put to judicial test, and giving constitutional status to NCBC was also put to amendment test. The reservation, right? For example, the Maratha reservation was also put to amendment test. So always the provisions of the constitutions, the provisions of Constitutional Amendment Act are in use, and it also forms the basic polity concepts where this current affairs topics, constitutional amendments are testing, and judicial interpretations are testing your articles as well as the constitutional amendments rights to amend the constitution, and whether they are legal or not, and whether they are justifiable or not. These questions are coming. This is history linked with constitutional amendment, linked with Supreme Court's judgment. Which amendment was believed to have enacted to overcome the judicial interpretation of the fundamental right? This question has been removed from UPSC on 2023 paper, but the answer was between first and 42nd amendment. The doubts were there, but first amendment 1951 was enacted to ensure that judicial interpretation of fundamental rights is bypassed, because right to privacy that time was right to property was that time a fundamental rights, and all the zamindari people had gone to court to claim the right to their property. To ensure, to overcome judicial interpretation, the First Amendment Act was brought. And also, Ninth Schedule was introduced. Who was the Prime Minister? Question has been asked when Ninth Schedule came. PM was Jawaharlal Nehru. Nehru ji was the Prime Minister. Question has come from this. Who was the Prime Minister when the Ninth Schedule was this one? And Ninth Schedule Supreme Court judgments. You have to be knowing it. You have to know encompassing what are the amendments, what happened, which are the Supreme Court judgment, whether Ninth Schedule is open to the judicial interpretation and judicial review, which Supreme Court judgment. You have to link the topics and you should be able to connect, and questions will come via linking also. So here First Amendment was the answer, but UPSC dropped this question. So you should be able to know how UPSC is asking the questions. Next, see, Article 16 was the option, and based on that, what is Article 16 and what are the other provisions linked to Article 16? Question has come in 2023. Statement 1. Reservation policies under Article 16 Clause 4 are limited by Article 335. True. It mentions about efficiency. Reservations should be given without affecting the efficiency of the administration. Statement 2. Article 335 defines what is efficiency of the administration. I told Article 335 mentions the term efficiency of the administration, to maintain efficiency, but it is not defining the term what is efficiency of administration. Whenever UPSC asks, it is defining incapacity, it is defining efficiency of administration, it is defining some other term. Normally, Constitution will not be defining because it will become too bulk. This is left to convention and interpretations or acts. It will be mentioned in the acts. So, Article 335 does not define what is efficiency of administration, what is incapacity, what is insolvent. All these are not defined in the constitutional provisions and acts. So, statement 1 is right, statement 2 is incorrect. Understand? Clear? So, Article 16, employment, is linked to Article 335, efficiency, and whether it is defined or not in the Constitution has been checked in the question. When Article 16(4), Clause 4 is linked, you should be able to understand whether reservation is allowed in private institutions or not, which act, which amendment, reservation with EWS, question might come. Article 16 ka other provision, Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3 bears very important because question has been asked from there and it is linked with efficiency of the administration, that is reservation, promotion in reservation, and the Supreme Court judgment with respect to that also becomes important. This is how you decode a theme, because question has been asked. When UPSC takes theme, there are 4 or 5 questions that has been framed around those themes. If this question has come in this year, there is very good chance that in 2026 or 2027, the questions will come from around this theme. So you should dwell in depth. The horizontal depth is about the themes. Vertical depth is seen through each questions, each statements, each clauses and provisions where the other questions might have been framed. You don't know exactly what is the question, but you can predict the theme around which the questions are getting created in UPSC Prelims. Next, easy question. Concentration of wealth. Under the Indian Constitution, concentration of the wealth violates Is it equality? Is it freedom? Is it concept of welfare? Or is it DPSP? DPSP का Article 39C mentions that state has a policy ensuring that the operation of the economic system does not result in concentration of wealth. There is always ensuring that equity between all its people and citizens. Our policies, economic policy should not lead to concentration of the wealth, which is exactly mentioned in Article 39C. So this violates DPSP. Is it enforceable in the court of law when there is a concentration of wealth under DPSP? No, it is not enforceable because it is non-justiciable. Clear? It is non-justiciable in the court of law. Next, right to property. Previous question, with respect to property, it was a fundamental right that time. Then right to property was removed. You should know which Amendment Act, the 44th Amendment Act, where it was put, which article it was put, Article 300A. Now what is the constitutional status of right to property has been asked here. It's a legal right for citizens only. It's a legal right available to any person, neither fundamental right. Fundamental right, it's removed. Doubt will be 50-50. Fundamental rights, few are available to only citizens of India. And some are available to all persons. Which are only for the citizens, Article 15, Article 16, Article 19, Article 29, Article 30. 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Other fundamental rights are available to all people. Only for Indian citizens, Article 15, Article 16, Article 19, Article 29 and Article 30. However, right to property is a constitutional right. It's not a fundamental right and it's a legal right available to any person. It's not citizen only. Citizen only with respect to fundamental right 15, 16, 19, 29, 30. Property, it's not a fundamental right. It's a legal right available to any other person. If you have clarity, if you have understood the concepts properly and you should be able to interpret in the examination hall, then you will be able to get the answer easily. Clear? Next, citizenship provisions. So, there are 3 statements given here. Understand the statements. Only one citizenship and domicile. This is unique Indian rule where India has only one citizenship and one domicile. Statement 1 is right. It's not like USA where you can have 2 citizenships. Okay? India gives only single citizenship. A citizen by birth only can be head of a state. Actually is comparing to US versus India in this statement. In US, only citizen by birth can become head of the state, that is president. He can become president. Here, a naturalized citizen also is eligible to become president. So statement 2 is wrong. A foreigner cannot be deprived of citizenship under any circumstances. You know that is not true. If he has committed fraud, he has been jailed for more than some years, I think 2 years, then he can be deprived of citizenship of India. So statement 2 is wrong, statement 3 is wrong. What is correct? 1 pair. You forget this option, now it is pair. So you should know only one statement is correct out of this. Here it will be 1 only. Understand how you will be able to answer citizenship mein what type of questions are coming. Questions are coming on OCIs, NRIs, their reservation, their children's reservation, whether they are eligible for reservation or not, in the education, okay, in jobs, whether OCIs have anything. Questions are coming linked to citizenship with other parts. So these are parts and themes linked. These are linked to fundamental rights. These are linked to fundamental duties. These are linked to DPSPs. So you should be able to link one part, one theme with the other. Fine. Next, discretionary power. Unguided discretionary power, that is legislation conferring unguided discretionary powers to executive violates which article? Which article? Which is the, we know constitutionalism, the main aim is for having a limited power to the authority, which is the part of our system which has unbridled power or authority which can be yielding. It's our executive, right, which is our government. If legislation give unguided discretionary power, what is violated? Is it Article 14 equality? See, these are all concepts you should know. Is it DPSP? Is it Article 32? Which? Is it Article 28? Is it Article 44? 44 is DPSP UCC. What is violated here? Article 14, right to equality is violated. So what happens? Granting unbridled discretionary power to executive lead to arbitrariness, which is a direct violation of Article 14. Equality before law is violated when it is discriminated, when one section is discriminated with other, giving unequal power to one wing, that is executive, and it will suffer the legislative and judiciary, which violates directly right to equality, that is Article 14 is violated. So now we will go to next question, which is again with respect to DPSP, which are the social foundations building block. The question has been asked, parts declaring idea of welfare state is part 4, which is DPSP. And one more question, which part or which one incorporates protection against untouchability? It is right to equality. So which is the question? DPSP and equality. Right. Article 17 speaks about untouchability. Ideal of welfare state is in DPSP. Is untouchability defined in the Constitution? Answer in the comment section. And you should know right to equality, which are the articles, right to freedom, which are the articles, right against exploitation, cultural rights, educational rights, right to writs. Okay, all this you should be able to know, and who are the prominent luminaries who have spoken about important articles in the fundamental rights, what Ambedkar has said, which is the soul of the articles, Article 32. All this type of questions have been asked by UPSC again and again, and the concepts have been asked by UPSC. Next, governance and part 4, the social foundation. Now governance. So whether there will be justiciable, enforceable or not. So on part 4, which is DPSP, are they enforceable? No. Not enforceable? Correct. However, do they influence lawmaking? Yes, DPSP should be considered in lawmaking. Which is the article mentioned in the, which is the article of DPSP mentioned in the comments. So here what is the answer? 2 pairs only. Question 3, 2 and 3. Right? 2 and 3. 1 and 3 wrong, 1 wrong, 2 only wrong, 2 and 3. One more question. Separation of judiciary and executive. Which article it is mentioned? Article 50 and DPSP. Again the question has been asked. Separation of judiciary from executive, UCC, promotion of international peace. So answer here is DPSP, and it is not enforceable, and it is influence lawmaking. And which article? Mention it. Okay. UPSC won't ask you by heart the article, but it will ask you from which part and what is that essence of the article. Whether you have understood that correctly will help you to decipher, not whether you know article 1 by heart, article 2 by heart. No. Clear? Next, Universal Declaration alignment. There are universally declared human rights principles, and this principle are spread in which of the following provisions of Constitution of India is asked. Which are the parts reflecting principles of UDHR? Preamble, DPSP, fundamental duties. You know preamble is filled with so many principles, so do the DPSP and also fundamental duties. Even if one principle of UDHR is reflecting, that will be correct. So I'll close my eyes and I'll say yes, yes, yes. I will not get into or dwell into whether, if I know that UDHR principles are not, doesn't matter. Whether I know all the principles of DPSP, preamble and fundamental duties, doesn't matter. Even if one principle of preamble, DPSP, fundamental duties matches with UDHR, okay, Universal Declaration of Human Rights Principle, then it means it is reflecting the principles in preamble, DPSP, fundamental duties. So here all three pairs are correct. Here all three pairs are correct. We need not go into very depth, because you know preamble, DPSP, fundamental duties all have human principles, justice, okay, liberty, equality. The principles of building blocks of human rights are there and spread in all these three parts of Constitution of India. Even if one provision matches, UDHR principle is reflecting. So all three will be correct. This is few questions where UPSC wants to just go ahead. You have clarity, just go ahead, put all three correct, because even one principle matches, then all the statements will be right here. Next, we'll go access to justice. So this is about fundamental rights, it's about DPSP, fundamental duties. This question comes under NALSA, okay, or LS, Legal Service Act. However, I have put it here just to know that question has been coming from justice, liberty, equality. Okay, all these are theoretical concepts where one question is coming every year. So legal service authorities, free legal service provided to who of them? Okay, if they are survivors of, okay, victims, survivors of some hazardous, victims of acid survivors, for this legal service is provided for free for some of the sections of the society. Income less than 1 lakh, transgender income less than 2 lakh, OBC income less than 3 lakh, all senior citizens. That time though, you have options to eliminate. Now if it is space, it will be very difficult to eliminate. All senior citizens, even if they are unreserved category, may not get. OBC, what is the income limit normally you have? Up to 8 lakh. OBC income is 3 lakh, might be or might not be. But you should know the provisions here. Income less than 1 lakh, yes. Transgender income less than 2 lakh. OBC, you should know. Otherwise, you will be stuck with 2 pair or 3 pair. But if you are able to think that, yeah, OBC income no, up to 8 lakh. And all OBCs, it is showing OBC's income irrespective of this one, 3 lakh. And what about other features of OBCs? It is putting in encompassing and 3 lakh. This is the wrong statement. So here 2 pairs, which is 1 and 2 only here. Okay. Criteria includes specific income limits. For this act, you should know specific income limit and specific sections of the society which has been given completely free and at what time. So this is the PYQs with respect to themes encompassing fundamental rights, fundamental duties, DPSPs. Go through the statements, go through the questions, understand the themes and revise those specific themes thoroughly, and the acts where questions has been asked clause by clause. Go through each clause by clause and understand properly what those clause and statement is inferring and link it with other applications and other themes of constitution. So thank you. See you in the next class.